Hi folks. Okay, I didn't plan to do this, so I don't know if it's going to record okay. I've not done this before, but truthfully, I wasn't ever planning ever doing anything, talking or anything, because I was just going to do videos. But because I'm Mr. Thicky, I forgot to. Well, for some reason, I haven't charged the camera up to film today. I was going to go out, so I'll have to do that later in the week. So anyway, I thought let's talk about this Nicola Bulley case. Um, because there's a lot of things being said and blah blah blah. Now, first thing is, if anyone criticising the police, I don't think they should because they've actually been out all the time. I saw them; they're all over the place. Um, and the reason, if it is, by the way, I'm recording this. What time is it? Let me just check, folks. God, I can't remember what time it is. Hang on. I'm recording this 3 o'clock, 12 minutes past 3, Monday, 20th Feb. So, the last time I checked, they haven't announced if it's her or not. So, bear that in mind. Hang on, just having a drink. Just having a drink of orange there, folks. Now, where shall we begin? Okay, first of all, some people criticise me for going. Now, if you're going to criticise me, then criticise ITV and BBC and all the rest of them because I wasn't doing anything different. You know, they haven't got some God-given right just because they're all middle class. No more right than I have to record the place. I mean, the reason I went was because, like most of us, I presumed something terrible had happened. She'd been kidnapped or something. Because, to be honest, that's what the media presented it as. They weren't really doing a good job. I mean, the reason I went was just to, wasn't to make it. You'll notice I didn't give any commentary. I just filmed the whole area for about over 2 days. I went both. I think I went on a Tuesday both times, and a week later. So I think I got the idea was just to film the whole lot so people would have an idea because one of the things that was irritating me was that people were going on such as YouTube and stuff, coming out with daft ideas, daft theories that wasn't applicable because they hadn't seen the area. They just looked at YouTube, I mean, a Google map. So the one thing I noticed was when you went, the area, you walked down quite a long path and then you came to a field which was, you couldn't really exit except from one way. And it's sort of man-made in many of it. The path is man-made. It's raised. It's part of a flood defence. So think of it more like walking along a wall rather than grassland. Because I think when we look at it, you're thinking you're just walking near the river. You're actually walking quite high up, very high up, and it's a steep bank. And when you go to look down, there's rocks which look like man-made. They don't look like they look like blocks of concrete. I don't know in the water, which I presume is part of the flood defence. So if you came down and hit your head on that, it's going to do some damage. And then from then on, you could only see about an inch or two below the waterline. So all these clever clogs go, no, well, why didn't police check all this river? It's virtually impossible. I watched the divers. There was a big team, about 10 or so. You've got the picture, and I've videoed it, where the diver, you couldn't see him under the water. I mean, I didn't even know there was a diver under there. You could only see the bubbles. And then when I got close, you could only see a couple of inches. So you've got to imagine, if you're underwater looking for anything, you're not going to be able to see, I would have imagined. You'd probably struggle to see your hand. That's how bad how bad it was. So I don't have any complaints there about the police. And I watched them walking up and down. I mean, they were everywhere. I mean, this is a couple of weeks after she's reported missing. Now, the reason why I came to the conclusion she wasn't kidnapped or anything was because, again, the path was, people are walking up and down the path. And it's a long path. And the road was very busy. I mean, when I say to people, I don't think they realise how far, when I tried to cross the road, I had to stand a few minutes before I could get across with a dog. otherwise they've been run over. You'd have been spotted instantly. And you've also got to conclude that to carry somebody all that distance, they'd have to be incredibly strong. And to be perfectly honest, if you was going to plan to kidnap somebody, to be crude, he'd have just stood outside the church and pulled them in because you wouldn't be seen. And there's a car park there, you could push them straight in a van and he'd be gone. So it didn't make sense, this nonsense. People going over the top, oh, they're probably tracking him on this, that, and the other. You're going over the top with this. But what irritated me was there were people on YouTube who were pretending to care, who were coming out with theories. I mean, they used my footage. I let them, thinking that shut down the daft ideas, but they only used bits that fit in with their daft theories. Because if you looked at my footage, it destroyed a lot of people's daft ideas. But they were coming out with, they were still carrying on with, oh, it could be a boat picked up. No. I mean, they were, for me, it were a bit disgusting, really, because people are making money by coming out with daft ideas on purpose. You know, just doing it, sitting at home, doing a 2 hours chat, and they were getting like 100,000 views or whatever. I mean, that must have made them money. They didn't really want this to end. They didn't want to do anything. They were going, yeah, they might have had it. I mean, they were coming out with, oh, there could have been a boat. Well, no, because the water wasn't that deep at that point. There were bits that they'd have been spotted. They'd have had to have a boat that could actually physically climb a weir and no one spotting it. I mean, it's just nonsense. But people are desperate. I mean, apparently people got annoyed with me because I was saying, nah, it's unfortunate, it's an accident. I mean, it is. You see, you got to remember, this is 9 o'clock in the morning. It could have been nicer. She's in boots. You're not going to have much of a grip with welly boots on. Plus, you know, if you get into water, first of all, I mean, people are saying this coat would float. I'm not sure that's true. I mean, I'd have thought she had 2 coats, and I'd have thought it'd drag you down. Then you got jeans on. Now, jeans alone, they're going to pull you down. Because, you know, they're not that waterproof. They soak up water. And then all the water's rushing in your welly boots. And then you don't even know which direction. I mean, this is presuming she hasn't hit her head. I mean, if you've hit your head, then fair enough. But even if you haven't, it'd be very difficult. I mean, you couldn't walk down to the end of the bank anyway. This is another thing. I mean, I was showing this in the films, and yet people are still carrying on who've seen the films, trying to come out with these daft ideas. You could see quite clearly that if you walked to the edge, if you pulled the boat up, you'd sink. You couldn't. I mean, people were asking me to film. Somebody sent me a picture of a diagram where they had this daft idea, and I'm sure somebody had given them it, where they thought they could walk across the water. I mean, it was very deep. I mean, this idea that somebody would be on the other side of the riverbank was nonsense. You never had to walk. The only way you could do it was to walk down the path, along the road where everyone sees you. Remember, it's 9 o'clock peak time. For anyone who's American or whatever, we call peak time when people rush hour or whatever. But anyway, I'm just having another drink. I mean, it was just, you'd have to walk all the way around through it's just ridiculous. I mean, where they found this body is quite a way down. It doesn't sound a mile, but I walked to the other side, and I thought I must have got that far, and I hadn't because, well, I don't think I have, because the map looks like it runs alongside a road at that point, and I never got to that road bit. And yet I walked quite well because you have to cross over barriers. There's like footpaths. Steps you cross over, so it slows you down. But again, you couldn't walk on the edge of the river because there's all these plants. You'd fall in, or you didn't know where. There's all. It's like all the not hay, but what do you call it? The straw from the grass all along. It's all the dead stuff there. So if you did walk along the edge, you wouldn't know if you was walking on that straw stuff, or if there was if there was ground underneath, so you could easily fall in. It wasn't easy, and it was covering up the sides. But yeah, I mean, there's some right wallows going out. I mean, they're idiots, so TikTokers who are digging things up. I mean, were they just? I don't know what they were doing it for. I mean, And there's apparently still accusing this family of. I mean, it's just nonsense. There's some stupid people out there. There really are. Now, I've had a few people say, like I said, criticise me for filming it. And in fact, the press were. By the way, when I was there, I watched the press bounce around gleefully, I'd say. They weren't really interested in this. They were just interested in the views. I mean, it didn't take... Not a single one of them press went and said, look, this is the main road. This is a path. Look how busy it is. Instead, they were hinting all the time. I always felt like hint, hint, hint. By the way, the dog's in the background, so if you hear some noise, it's them. They always felt... You see, this is one of the things that irritate me from the beginning. The press were pushing people. They were giving us, the viewers, this sort of open-ended, oh, what if? They're trying to... They were interested more in views. So don't start... when people start having it at me for filming, I think I was doing more responsible. The footage I was taking, I believe, was far more responsible than any of the press who were there. Because I watched them. They were running about, hoping to get the shots in. They were just there for, oh, what if? I mean, I'm one of them. They did a programme a few weeks after. The very words one of the presenters said was, oh, there's no evidence of her falling in. Ooh, hint, hint, hint. Yeah, sorry, but you're winding people up with that. I wasn't saying anything like that. So don't, before anyone has a go at me. Yeah, you could say I shouldn't have gone. But then again, you could say that about the press. If you have a go at me, because there's this sort of attitude, isn't there, folks, where people are a bit snobby. It's all right for ITV and BBC to go, but scumbags like me are way too scummy to go. Even though I felt I was doing... I mean, I did have a think about overnight. I mean, it was on my mind, should I go? I mean, is it tacky? And yeah, part of it is it slightly tacky, but I thought, and I still stick by it, what I went for was to show everybody in the internet what the air was like, because up to that point, I don't think anyone has. And I don't think... I've seen a few more videos, and there's a bit better footage, but I don't think anyone's covered it anywhere near as much as me. And I felt that was important, because I didn't realise you couldn't walk very far, you could only walk around this field, and it was a dead end. But even so, I mean, even the people on the YouTube who were reviewing, coming out with daft ideas, they'd seen the footage, they only used bits of what they wanted, and they still carried on with their theories, even though they've seen the footage. And my footage proved that everything they were coming out with was nonsense. Utter disgusting it was. I've showed the river, and they're going, oh, there could have been a boat. What boat could have gone on there? They'd have had to go up a weir. What are you talking about? What were these people on about? I know what they were on about. They were hoping that thickos would listen in and thinking, oh, it's mysterious and it'd get them views. They were all interested. They pretend that they cared, but I don't think they did. Anyway. Sorry, I'm having a drink of orange juice here. Yeah, good dear. I mean, the problem with this is you get thickies like the ones digging things up, and they're going to spoil it for everything. Eventually, they're going to bring in new laws, I suspect, because of these thickos doing stuff like this. They'll make it so that only certain people, like the press, can do reporting. And like I said, I don't think the press... I mean, at the moment, we've got, in America, this situation where a chemical spill and they've set fire to it or something, and it looks like it's leaking all over, both in the ground and in the air. And if it's in the river, which it sounds like it, that's presumably going to go into the sea. I mean, you should be worried, folks. I mean, this is like amazing. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. I mean, I think some are saying it could be worse than Chernobyl. Because at least Chernobyl was sort of in a certain area, it didn't spread. I mean, obviously you had the rain clouds and stuff, but if this hits, I mean, one, you've got it going in the air, and then secondly, you've got, how long is it going to last? Because this stuff might not just vaporise. Is it going to stay in the water years? I mean, is it going to kill all the wildlife? I mean, I'm vegetarian, so I'm not going to be eating the fish, but I suspect a lot of people listening to this might be eating fish, and are you going to be eating fish that's been drinking this stuff? And what long-term damage? Oh, it's a nightmare, isn't it? This is a bit why I'm a bit into green, well, heavily into green stuff. All this chemical stuff. I mean, it's shameful. It shouldn't have crashed, or derailed, or whatever it was. It derailed, I think. But we've been, you look at the news. One of the things is you look at the news and you realise certain stories aren't being covered. I mean, I never really aimed for this channel to be political. I'm trying to be a bit avoiding it because, you say something and then you get a bunch of wallies coming out saying, you're offensive. No. By the way, I don't give a. If you ever come up and whinge at me for saying something, though, I don't care. I'm not interested in, you haven't said the correct words. Oh, you're sexist. No. I'm not interested. Couldn't care less. Oh dear. Like I said, I was supposed to be filming today, so maybe I could do a couple of these chats if I can record it. Okay. I'm recording straight into the tablet and this. Normally I've got a little tape recorder thing, which might sound better to record, but I plugged the mic into this thing, so it might sound terrible, it might not. I mean, I've got the worst voice going anyway, that's why I don't like doing it. But dear. Yeah, I thought the media had a cheat. I mean, I had one of these idiots come up to me, bounced across the field, he did, bounce, and he went, I'm from this radio station. And it said what it was. I won't name it. But I felt the questions. I mean, a lot of these interviews, I felt were a bit leading people. I saw, he came up and said, why are you interfering? Or you adding to it or something. I went, I'm not doing anything more different than what you guys are doing. What's the difference? So I don't think I particularly like that answer. And then he said something on the lines of, so you don't think the media are doing a good idea? And I thought, you're just trying to get me to say something, aren't you? I thought, what you want is me to sound like a nut, which is what that's the aim. And there was sort of pressure. I noticed that other people were doing interviews, and it did seem like the guy on the field who I think found was it the dog or the phone or something? And I don't think he really wanted to chat to anyone. This chubby presenter is there pushing him and questioning. And it felt like they were all wanting to get something, some answer to expose people as nuts or something. I don't know what it was. It was very unpleasant. I mean, I've thought, for me, I haven't watched the TV for years because I used to watch it all the time, but to me it's just, at the moment it's woke and bland. So all the news coverage I've seen, to be fair, and I have to say this, folks, is what I've seen on YouTube. I haven't seen it on the live TV. But I thought what I thought the presenters were pretty poor, quite poor. They didn't seem like they used to be. They didn't seem the, vastly educated Oxford, Cambridge types. It seemed to be, And it just, when this guy was interviewing that bloke when he was walking his dog, it just didn't seem interested, did this chubby presenter. It just going, no. Just answer, he wanted the views, I think. And I think that's what the trouble is at the moment. The news seems to now be getting YouTube views. That's, I think, what they're after. Yeah. See, I won't do interviews, anything. If somebody comes up to me and get stuff, I'll talk to you guys directly. If you want to hear my views, I'll do it here. Why should I give somebody else my time? Well, pay me if you want me to, but, So I keep drinking and the dog's whining back. We've just been for a walk. In fact, originally I recorded this on my camera phone, but because it's a bit, the connection's a bit dodgy, I can't plug a mic in, so and it will windy. Oh, she's elderly, poor thing. She's about 21. She runs around like a pup. Dear. She's got to be careful with her these years. Yeah, silly girl. Anyway, I think that just wraps it up. But yeah, I thought I'd do maybe the odd chat. Maybe if I'd probably get bored doing it. I'd probably do two and quit, but we'll see. Like I said, I don't know if this is recorded okay because this is the first time I've done this. We'll see. Ciao.